your butt.
I think he can hear you, Ray.
Don't move. It won't hurt you.
I feel the need for speed. Ow! So together we're the Three Amigos.
Right here. Stop.
Batman, what happened? Are you okay?
He's slimy.
It's getting hot in here. Is it just me?
No, go past this. Past this part. In fact, never play this again.
Hello and welcome to After the Weekend, where there are no longer three amigos, there's just the one. And yeah, mom and dad are out on a date, so you have just me here, which would be awkward enough as it is. So I brought a couple of buddies on to help me out tonight. And so let's just not keep rambling on here. Let's bring them in. Let's start out here with Jacob Ironside. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Yep. This is great. It's your first solo live stream. Awesome.
Yeah, and to say my blood pressure and heart rate aren't skyrocketing now would be a lie.
You're doing good, man.
No, I appreciate having you here. You're absolutely very welcome.
Yeah, thanks
always.
Thanks for having me.
And you know, because well, it kind of shames me to bring somebody on board that has a better beard than me, but you know, beard respect where it is deserved. So, Blair, how you doing?
Thank you. Mom and Dad are out, huh? Let's hit the liquor cabinet.
Yeah. Stick to the clear alcohols because you can fill that with water and they won't notice.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you guys for being here. This is going to be a little bit weird and definitely awkward and probably a lot of rambling. Yeah. Your first time is always awkward.
Oh yeah, it's a mess.
Oh man.
Just stay away from the pie.
So how you guys doing? Just
good. It's been a good week.
Good.
Excellent. So before we dip into the chat here, I'm gonna let it go for a little bit, see if some more folks pop in. Was this a first watch for anyone, or was this something you saw back in the day?
No.
Yeah, I saw it way back when it first came out on VHS.
Yeah.
Well, I was probably 1 or 2 when it came out, so I saw it in the 90s. So.
Yeah, this is something that I'm sure I saw at some point. I just have no recollection of it. I think my memory of Dragnet actually was probably reruns of the actual TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched it on Nickelodeon when they did Nick at Night. Back in my college days, the 90s, that's when they got to the late 60s, early 70s time period. That's when the second version of Dragnet came on, the color version.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably where my memories come from, because I watched this and I was thinking, okay, this isn't quite what I remember, but I could have told you the exact like that theme for it. I knew it. It was in my brain. But yeah. So before we get further into this,
I remember
sorry,
TV
Jacob.
Land. I remember TV Land.
Yep.
Used to have old series. Not anymore. It was good. I got introduced to a lot of old TV shows. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of old stuff I watched as reruns as a kid that you would probably not really expect. stuff like this, old Batman and such like that. Just, it was
Yeah.
always on TV. Why not?
Yeah.
So before we get further into this, say hello to some of the chat. They warned me they were going to be in the chat watching just to make me a little bit more nervous. So R2, hello. Thank you for helping me out right before, because things nearly went to hell before we even got started. And JT's there. They're having a mandate. They're hanging out together. They deserve some time off. So how you doing, fellas? Ubaldo, what's up, buddy? And got my buddy Aaron from the I Had to Say It podcast hanging out. This guy right here, let me give him credit. He's pushed me to like guest on things and such like that since the very beginning. And I don't take compliments well, but I appreciate it. I still think his judgment is probably impaired and he's wrong, but we'll find out. So, yeah, tonight's movie is the 1987 Dragnet. And I forgot to bring up the other stuff beforehand. So everybody just
Not
hold
to
on
be
a second.
confused with the radio program of the 40s, the early 50s black and white TV show, the 1950s movie, and then the color version that came out in the 60s.
Yeah.
Dragnet has been on forever.
Whoops. I'm going to have to text R2 real quick and tell him to type this number in. Because I had access on one account, but didn't have it ready on this one.
Yeah, Dragnet's one of those crazy things where in the 50s when TV started taking over, they took all the old radio programs and transferred to the TV because they already had stories and an audience built in. So Dragnet came over to television, and then at the end of the run, it became a movie. Dragnet the movie was actually a gradually released movie back in the 50s. And
See, I didn't realize that it started in radio.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know there's history there from actual cooperation with LAPD, where they don't just say at the beginning that the names have been changed and these are actual stories. It's based on actual cases.
Yeah. I know when it came on the second time, Jack Webb would solicit stories from cops. And if he used one as a series, you got like paid however much money it was back in the 60s for
That's
your story.
Cool. All right. I need R2 to respond to this because it's sending the second verification to him, and I don't have access to things.
Don't you hate that? It's like when you leave your phone upstairs and they send you the code. It's like I have to go upstairs, get the phone to...
Yeah, because on my account, I had access to everything and it was ready. And then I had to swap over so that everything would be good for this stream. And it's not good for the stream because I need to get access to the slides that R2 very graciously prepared for me. I get that. I get that. I'm not going to say what's in this cup, but, cheers.
He might be starting drinking it. Gulp, gulp. Nervous drinking. Yeah, this came out when Tom Hanks was not that well known, really. He was still an up-and-coming guy who had done TV. Bosom Buddies was still kind of the biggest thing, and Bases of Monsters. I think, was it The Spy with One Red Shoe had come out around this time? But I think this came out right around the time Splash did.
What was Splash?
We'll find out.
Look, nothing about tonight's show is going to be normal, folks. Just going forward, expect craziness. Yes, Jacob. I knew you were going to have a meme. You warned me. And I still laughed till I was nearly crying when you sent that out.
Oh, yeah, Splash was in '83, so
mission accomplished.
But this is before he started doing all
Splash
the
was
rom-com
83?
stuff in the '90s. Yeah, like Sleepless in Seattle and
Yeah,
all
another
that kind of stuff.
another good one was the what is it? The Barbs? What is it called?
Oh, the Burbs.
Yeah, that came out in '89.
The Burbs. Yeah,
They
the
filmed-
Burbs.
So the part where Connie Swale, the Virgin Connie Swale, that house neighborhood, that's the same one in Burbs. It's a backlot area.
I can't remember if I included that in my facts, but that's the same kind of backlot neighborhood they use for everything. And that's why Tom Hanks says, "Can the beaver come out to play?" Because that little corner of houses goes all the way back to Leave It to Beaver.
Yep.
And I think wouldn't Nightmare on Elm Street film there too?
No.
Because he kind of
No, and also I may be jumping ahead of my facts towards the end here, but the house where he says about Nightmare on Elm Street was actually a house for 1313 Mockingbird Lane for the Munsters.
The Munsters, yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, the Nightmare on Elm Street movie house. That's actually a real house. There's a street where there's a house, and then across the street there's some more. Then there's even a Halloween house or two on that area. There's a guy named Sean Malfunction that he has a good he goes to movie locations like Northern California where the Howling and the Fog, and all around LA he went to the street where the Nightmare on Elm Street house were, then Halloween and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Hello. But yeah, he'd check out his channel. He did a really good thing about the Nightmare on Elm Street houses, like what. And actually walk down the street and you could see where they were in relation to each other.
Oh, okay.
So
he's also a convention agent. Like if you're a star and you want to go to the convention circuit, he'd be like your agent manager that helps those people. Yeah, the Munsters are fun. I love that show.
Absolutely. I'm still waiting for a reply so I can get access to slides. This is a disaster right out of the gate.
It's okay. We've all had them.
Darn, like two-step verification.
I know, right? Who's gonna hack the stream? Come on.
All right, well, we'll just kind of start talking generalities about the movie. So it's 1987's Dragnet. Dan Aykroyd, Tom Hanks. Definitely not your typical Dragnet kind of story if you know the show, because that was based at least on real cases, was handled kind of seriously. Over the top as far as acting and such like that sometimes, which I think led it kind of to pair perfectly with becoming kind of a comedy like we've got here.
Right.
Yeah, it was right for being poked fun of.
Yeah. And it's weird. If you were to ask me if there was a movie with Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks, who would be the straight man, who would be the comedy guy, I would say, Tom Hanks would be the straight man and Dan Aykroyd would be comedy.
Yeah, me too. That would be my thought too, but I thought it worked really well the way they did it.
Yeah. But when you start looking at it, Dan Aykroyd plays like the straight comic part. And he does that in basically everything. He's great at it.
Mm-hmm.
Where he plays like over the top serious to the point where he steps into comedy, even though he's playing it kind of straight.
Yeah, he's like he's Joe Friday all the time.
Yeah. And you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna spoil all my facts from later on anyway. Apparently, Dan Aykroyd liked Joe Friday so much in the original show that's where he wanted his characters to be able to spout like official sounding and technical jargon so like by the book. Like you get that with this character in Ghostbusters, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's able to like this do the technobabble and the information dump and be all serious and just, roll it out there.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny too. Aykroyd, when he walks in this, he doesn't move his arms. They're just
like Joe Friday.
barely
He
moving. But
was like paralyzed.
Tom Hanks is like really throwing his arms back and forth exaggeratedly. So it's just really this weird, funny.
Yeah, they do a really good job of just like physically being very different characters. When you see Dan Aykroyd walking around, sometimes he just moves like he's not a human in reality.
Yeah, he's like some kind of transplant from the 60s.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to see if I can get... Sorry, go ahead.
You could tell this is totally an 80s movies because there's like sex, titillation all over the place. They go to a strip club and...
Yeah, if I saw this as a kid, I definitely saw the TV version because there were some stuff...
Yeah, they definitely edited for TV.
Yeah, I watched this a couple days ago, and I guess I'd never watched the uncut version. It's like, whoa, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, surprise! And I'm watching it. I scroll down, like, what was the rating on this again? Oh, okay. Boy, they were really kind of pushing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very
and the funny thing is
placement.
Yeah.
I don't think a single person dies in this movie.
They don't really even shoot anybody. Like they knock guns out of the hand or shoot into the air.
Oh, some people do in the end, but they fall down. But if they die.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to let R2 know here that I am just going to try to wing this.
We don't need slides.
I'm going to try to get them a different way, but it's not going to be nearly as nice looking, probably.
PowerPoints for wussies. Come
on. Yeah, because my Google Drive access through this account that I'm actually the After the Weekend account, I have to get second access from him, and I'm not getting a reply.
They're probably laughing at you.
Yeah. These guys, let me tell you, they are the worst.
They're in the chat watching you flounder.
I've got to do this because JT would do it, and it's going to take me forever to find it. And I don't care how awkward this is. I'm going to do it anyway. Here we go.
Stupid factoids.
There we go. Oh boy. All right. So let's try something different. This is, I made a joke posting a GIF from, I don't know if y'all know the show Arrested Development. And there's a line in there where Maybe says, it's going to be a disaster. I'll get you tickets. And that's been my mindset this entire time leading up to this stream. It's going to be a disaster. I'll get you tickets. So let's see if I can figure out how to do a thing that I've never tried to do before.
Dun, 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 dun.
There we go. It is completely awkward and not great, but we're going to run with this because that's all I've got right now.
It looks good.
Oh, that's okay.
So, yeah, we'll just leave it right where it is normal. Anywho, so Dragnet. Tom, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because it's not going to work right coming out of my mouth. Okay, we'll go with that. And I'm not surprised to see Dan Aykroyd involved in the writing, considering how big a fan he was of Dragnet. 1987, PG-13, and like we said before, they kind of pushed that in a couple of scenes because
couple pasties saved them.
when they go get coffee, there's only a couple of things about this big around covering up things. And let's just stop for a moment and appreciate the style. They go, what's that? I forget the exact line. They go requisition outfits to try to look like everyday street thugs.
Yeah, everyday street thugs of today.
Tom Hanks would be canceled for the outfit.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't forget your dope leggings.
That is after the snake wrangling, because he only has half of his mustache on.
Yeah,
because he loses half of it during the snake wrangling.
Did you see when he was on Saturday Night Live back way back in the Bosom Betty days? He was playing a skit. He was a Greek fisherman, and during the skit, half his mustache came off just like that, and everybody's like dying laughing, but they're trying to get through it.
Was that before or after this?
Before.
Oh,
I wonder if this is a bit of an homage to that. Then maybe
I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't, because that sounds like something that they would do.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, can't go there just yet.
It does.
So I don't know. Do either of y'all have any more kind of general thoughts on the film before we kind of start diving a little bit further into this? I get the feeling this is going to be a little bit quicker stream than normal because I'm bad at filling time. But
Jacob,
we'll fill time.
I mean, it's kind of hard to. So go ahead.
Seemed like it was a lot funnier when I was little.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
well, I mean, it's not a drier story, and it's pretty shallow comedy. Yeah.
There's a lot of sight gags, a lot of that kind of thing. It definitely is funnier the first watch.
Yeah. There are
Dan Aykroyd
little things here and there that definitely got me.
Mohawk.
Yeah.
Got all the punk pins on, and
then he's got a big British flag on the back of the jacket.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the goat leggings make the outfit. I mean,
it's true. The goat leggings. Okay, I completely expected his former partner to be involved in this at some point because of his former partner retired to go raise a goat farm, like bought a goat farm, and I thought that was going to come into this.
It was his lifelong dream to start a goat farm.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you deal with the streets of LA for so many years, you just want the peace and quiet of just goats and grass.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I guess we'll get into that. If folks don't know, we're going to start kind of guessing some of the budget here. So get your brains turning to that, because I'm going to ask you what you think the budget was and what things came back or its return on it as soon as I find the video to do that.
1192 12.
All right. So I have no idea. R2 prepared these. I could actually, it's right there. I probably could look, but I'm not going to look. I have no idea. I have no idea what the budget or return on this might have been. So what do you guys think?
Figure out $1987.
Well, R2 is pretty good. He usually does the then and the now. So if you get close to either of them, we'll count it.
Well, you got to take into account they're right there. I mean, everything they need is right there, so they don't have to transport anything to a different city or state.
And I mean, there were some decently sized kind of like sets and action pieces, considering the rest of the film being so low key.
Right.
This is usually a way for like Nicole to chime in because she's pretty good at this, and then I just kind of pretend like I didn't see what she said and go off that. I don't know. Dan Aykroyd was pretty good, like you said, or pretty big at the time. And Tom Hanks was up and coming. I have to think that a pretty good amount of budget went to them. Plus, we also have to acknowledge that the police chief was the guy from MASH. So he probably had a pretty decent
and the
section
and
of
the
the budget as
original
well.
Dragnet.
Oh,
Christopher Plummer was in it too.
Yes.
But it's kind of a low. I think it's a low budget movie. I'll say less than $15 million.
I think that's probably a pretty good guess. What do you think, Jacob? See, usually I'm the guy that gets put on the spot that doesn't have any ideas, so now I get to make other people feel uncomfortable. Yeah, because I'm thinking probably somewhere around maybe 12 million for the budget. And I have no idea, because when this released, I was 4 years old, so I have no idea what the box office return would have been.
Oh, Raccoon's got Jacob again.
No.
Jacob, you back?
Oh, and Blair, you have to say raccoons.
Sorry.
Raccoons.
You can't shorten it.
I
People
blipped out there
get
for
upset.
a second. That's weird.
The raccoons.
It does that every now and then. I'll bleep out for a minute and come back. It's good now.
All right. So, what do you think the box office and budget might have been for this? Because Blair and I are thinking pretty low.
Yeah, considering it is right near all the equipment they would need and no transport, I would say the 15, 16, something like that.
So the question now is, was it received well, and did the audiences actually go see it?
Yes, from my understand, it was a hit at the time.
Okay.
So I think its return was pretty. I think they made, I want to say, triple what they put into it.
Okay, my guess was going to be double. So I was going to guess probably like 24 to 30. Yeah, hold on, because this is awkward enough. Yeah, let's go back and forth on this for a minute and use up some time, because R2 finally got back to me.
I'm going to say over half.
Okay.
I'm going to say over doubled,
Okay, so you're thinking like
more
around like
double.
15 or so. So you're thinking a little bit more than 30. Blair's saying triple. I'm on the lower end. I'm like 12 million, and then maybe they made like 24.
Okay.
And if this works, I'll have full access. Yeah. All right, we're nearly 30 minutes in, and I finally got a handle on the show.
Access granted.
Boom. Oh, boy. All right, well, let's check it out. There's been enough delaying here. We've been just kind of floundering around in the kiddie pool here. 1986, the budget was 20 million. That is a lot more than I thought it would be.
A lot more than I thought, yeah.
Wow.
56.6 million in today's dollars. Box office was 66.7, which, Blair, you're right, about 3 times. So, yeah, it was a pretty big hit.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was a moneymaker at the time, but it's one of those things where it's like been pigeonholed. Nobody even knows about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It never had a cult following that kept it alive. It just, made a splash, made its money, then it's kind of disappeared.
Well, it's kind of like I said at the beginning. I know I have to have seen the TV version of this at some point. I know I have to. But maybe I'm just wrong, and I know the theme song and Dragnet as a trope from TV reruns. I don't know. Maybe this movie just never.
I remember seeing it. Like I think it was on FX back in the day.
Yeah, it gets shown every once in a while.
I mean, maybe not so much these days, because nothing from back in the day can be shown these days without people getting offended by things. So
Yeah. Right.
We've lost so many good movies, kind of they've just been memory hold, that sort of thing. Let's see here. I'm trying to look ahead, see what I've got coming up next. Yeah, that Dan Aykroyd in the outfit, that mohawk, which actually he looks kind of like that lion that got shaved.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's so hard to go through this because, at least for me, so much what makes this movie work is Dan Aykroyd's one-liners, and if you don't quote them exactly right, it doesn't work. And all I want to do is just quote his lines, but I know I'm going to mess them up.
Yeah.
Because like they see the lion that's shaved, and he's worried about this, that, and the other, and then you get Tom Hanks just looks over at the kids, go, "It'll grow back," and the kids, yeah.
Eichmann says, "Yes, yes, ma'am," or "Yes, sir." So, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And
I mean,
let's see here. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jacob. Sorry, I'm just kind of floundering through slides here. So just feel free to interrupt me. Oh, there's the goat legs over there on the right. And you know what? I'd wear those. I mean, not right now, because even though it's March, it's nearly 90 degrees during the day in Texas. So
it was 30
your legs
snowed
warm in
here.
the wintertime, you know.
Yeah.
Where I'm here. Speaking of legs, check out the legs over there on the left.
Oh, yeah. That's from when they go get some coffee, and
the best
Friday
coffee in LA.
Friday actually is like, you know what? You're not right about many things, but this is the best coffee.
You know, Christopher Plummer in Star Trek, in the Star Trek Undiscovered Country, he was enjoying himself. I think he was enjoying himself in this one too. I mean,
he loves being like
he usually plays the
weirdo.
serious. He usually plays the serious role, and I think he loved just hamming it up, playing these silly roles.
Well, you get that a lot with people who, since we're talking about cast, you get that a lot with a lot of actors that I've heard very often that playing against type is the most fun that they have. It's like, if you're a nice guy in real life, playing the bad guy is fun. Or playing the goofball, if you've played a bunch of serious roles, that's where you get all the fun. It's kind of when you get to just chew the scenery.
Yeah. I've got some of Friday's quotes here. "No, ma'am, they're quite impressive, bordering on spectacular."
Oh, yeah. That was the best thing ever.
And that's when Streetback's like, "Oh, man, I think I left my notebook back in the car. It's going to take me like 20, 30 minutes to find it. So I'll just run back."
30 minutes. Yeah. 30.
Yeah.
He's like, "All right, let's get back to the car and find that notebook."
Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. My favorite is toward the end. Well, I think it was the end where he's like, "Me and Connie Swell were doing this." He goes, "Wait a minute. You mean the Virgin Connie Swell?" And he just gives him the look, and that plays the dun 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 dun. You're like,
that was a great joke that paid off, because every single time he introduced her to his grandmother as the Virgin Connie Swell.
Yeah.
The Virgin Connie Swell.
And I guess we didn't really kind of go over the plot of this, because
there's a plot.
Yeah, kind of stumbling through things. But basically, it's two police it's kind of like if Blues Brothers had a baby with Lethal Weapon. Like, it's buddy cop comedy sort of thing. And so they stumble onto this. It's from a group called Pagan.
People Against Good and Normal.
Yes. I meant to look up if this fell within the same time as the Satanic Panic, because it feels like they were parodying that kind of thing. Okay.
A little bit after PMRC and all that, but yeah.
Okay. it felt like they were kind of parodying that sort of over the top worry about stuff. But yeah, basically, and spoilers for a movie that's nearly as old as I am. Go watch it.
Yeah.
This priest is working together with this pornography producer who's basically Hugh Hefner.
With a speech impediment.
Yes, to kind of bring society down, and then but there's double crossing, and it is really hard to describe because honestly, there's not much plot there. What is there doesn't make a ton of sense. It's kind of a sketch comedy drawn out to feature length.
Yeah. There's not much of a plot. It's like you said, it's like sketch comedy. It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
I love Streebek's when you first see Streebek. He's like, his car's getting towed and there's like bullet holes and it's all beat up, and he opens the door and the door just falls off.
Because they only briefly touch on it because he's transferring from like undercover vice into robbery and homicide. Yeah. And apparently, again, I can't remember my facts that I have in a little bit, maybe stepping on those, but apparently the code of the dress code that Dan Aykroyd quotes to Streebek whenever they first meet is apparently almost exactly word for word the correct, like referencing every single number that he said is almost exactly the actual LAPD dress code for detectives at that time.
Oh, wow.
Which just falls into his wanting to be exactly like the original Friday and knowing everything.
The thing about the car too is that, you know, they progressively get worse and worse cars until they're in a Yugo.
In the description that he makes of like fine Eastern European design,
Slavian Croatian design. It's
all right. So just to add to the awkwardness of this show, again, thank you guys for being here for all the cringe. I'm famously the guy who doesn't watch movies. So there's a lot of people on screen right now that I don't recognize. So if you recognize anyone, want to shout them out for other roles, feel free to speak up.
Emil Muzz, Jack O'Halloran. He was in Superman 2. He played the mute Kryptonian.
I knew I recognized him from somewhere.
Jacob thought he was the guy of Jaws from James Bond, but no, that's not him.
I was kind of thinking that too.
He's got the teeth, you know.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely where I've seen him from.
I mean, at least everybody on the top row except the two women at the end, I recognize. Kathleen Freeman is just an old actress. She's been in a lot of things, just a character actor. I don't recognize any others.
I'm
Harry
kind
Morgan,
of
what was
wondering,
in the last TV show, the color one.
So Harry Morgan, he was the police captain, right? The chief or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The picture on his desk behind his desk apparently was the same picture that he had on the set of MASH of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, I should have looked this up ahead of time, if Meg Wiley down there at the bottom, who plays Mrs. Gannon, if there actually is some kind of relation there between her and that picture. But I kind of suspect that it was just because she looked similar.
No, I think it said it was the same actress.
Okay.
I looked it up. So,
I mean, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know too many of the other ones.
I mean, nobody.
If you looked up, yeah.
Nobody did I would say, a bad job on this because I mean, it wasn't exactly like Scorsese level acting going on here for storytelling.
A lot of the women were there just to look at. So,
yeah. Another reason that this couldn't be made today to go keep going back to that trope. But
Strebeck too, also showing up with all the female police officers.
yes. Actually, it's a point in the film where a Friday is captured and the narration switches over to Strebeck. That is one of my favorite parts. It's just him
talking about, yeah.
he's like, here's the date. It's 8:37. I overslept because he's in bed with one of his fellow officers. It honestly, I found the snake is one of my favorite lines.
I found the snake.
And they're over there, like Friday and what's her face are kind of like flirting in the middle of death, and Strebeck's just over there, just like help. And gets out of it with a handful of narcotic drugs, pills and such.
I like the little police RV.
Anybody for some boots?
Yeah. Yeah, look at that police tank.
I remember they're rolling that thing out back in the 80s.
Yeah, I laugh at it, but also there's the part of my brain that goes, you don't need that. And then I realize it's LA. You probably need 2 of those.
Uh-huh.
And it's a brief moment. It's a stupid laugh. I know. But when they're in that milk factory or whatever, you've got Tom Hanks going, flicking his tongue out. That's a great bit of comedy.
Yeah. He's like, I can't quite make it out. What is this? It tastes like milk.
It's like the sign outside says, wholesome milk.
All right, let's take a look at what was, before I start a segue, I should probably find the video that I'm going to click on. You know what? I think that's probably the one. All right, let's take a look at what else was in the theaters.
Shut your drums and stop kicking us face! We're trying to watch the movie!
All right.
The 80s are so great. Look at that list.
Oh, this went up against and beat Spaceballs? Dang.
Mm-hmm.
Beverly Hills Cop 2, Predator, Untouchables.
Predator was in week 3.
Witches of Eastwick.
Oh, and Full Metal Jacket.
Yep.
Harry and the Hendersons was week 4.
Wow.
It made more money at the theater than them, but they had much longer lives after. We all know Full Metal Jacket and Spaceballs. You know.
I mean, I can't really. I mean, it makes sense because once you see this, it's kind of like, all right, I've seen it. I don't necessarily need to see it again for a little while.
Right. One and done.
Yeah.
But kind of what we've said so many times before.
When you see a Predator on, you're like, oh yeah, here we go. You know, you could watch that anytime. But this is kind of you have to be in the mood to watch it.
Yeah, things like Predator and Untouchables get you pumped up. It like really pulls you in.
So last week, Predator is number 2. And it's third week, 37.7. You know, today's money, that would be, however, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've said this so many times on the show, going back and looking at what else was in the theaters. It's just, you don't get that anymore. I mean, even let's streaming aside, if everything that was coming out in streaming came out in theaters, you still wouldn't look at the lineup and go, man, this is a great weekend to go to the movies.
They all suck. You got like maybe one movie.
Yeah.
If.
Yeah. These were the days where you could just show up to the theater knowing you're going to watch something. You have no idea what you're going to watch, but you just stand back and look at the marquee of everything that's coming up and go, that's the one.
Yeah.
And
yep.
I mean,
It's just kind of sad that we lost that.
yeah, it is. But yeah,
But
I heard somebody.
sorry.
They were explaining how they do movies in Hollywood to a Japanese guy, and it's like, okay, there'll be 10 movies that come out in a year, and only 3 of them will be big blockbusters. And the Japanese guy, well, why don't you just make them all blockbusters? It's really weird how they have it set up. I just,
Yeah.
I mean, they'll
Yep.
have just a bunch of filler movies that don't do anything, and maybe have 3 blockbusters.
If I am really reaching to play the devil's advocate, I would like to think that most people who make a film make it because they think it has legs and will catch on and will be popular. But then the cynic in me just looks at what we have available and go, nah. They're stepping up on a platform and preaching. They're not sitting here to entertain anymore. And I just want to go back to entertain. Let's be ridiculous. Let's be goofy. Yeah. Let's just make something because you love it. Let's make
we can take this. Yeah, we can take this list right here, and just about we can go down that list and say, this was a good movie. This was a good movie. This was a good movie. I mean, you do that for last year, and it's like, this was a terrible movie. This was a terrible movie. I mean, it's crazy how things have just flipped.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how to explain it. It's just the way things are now, I guess. I mean, maybe it'll shift. I hope so. Fingers crossed.
I think a lot of movies may actually start out to be okay, but then they get hijacked. You know, suddenly the director gets the note that they got to do this and do that, and they change everything to the point where it's not even the. You heard a lot of people say, this is not the script that I got.
Right.
When we go to film.
Yeah.
Because it's, done by committee now. There's not one person who has, the gravitas or the will to drive it on their own. It's done by committee and it sucks.
Yeah. I think that's why we get some of the best film that we get right now is things that are truly independent that may never see a theater. I mean, this is the time for independent creators with YouTube and all its other alternatives and things like that. There's never a better time to create your passion project and get it directly to the people, to your viewers. JT looks odd. Thanks, R2. By odd, you mean he's got a better beard, although worse hair.
I love that part where they get that part, like the top left there, where he gets his the goat skins, and they're like dogs yapping at each other.
I have to wonder how much kind of just ad-libbing Tom Hanks did, because it looked like he was just doing stuff to almost annoy Dan Aykroyd as much as Strebeck was actually trying to annoy Friday.
Yeah, I get that feeling too.
But yeah, a couple of shots here. You got the virgin sacrifice up there, digging through trash. Yeah, it's hard to go over this film without just like I said before, we're just going over the lines. So if people hadn't seen it, they need to go see it. It's worth at least one watch, I would say.
Definitely.
So again, I start to transition into the next thing before actually having the video up to do it. Look, folks, if you're still here, thank you. And I warned you, it was going to be awkward. Let's get into some of the facts.
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
All right. And I think I stepped on all of my facts here earlier. And I didn't include it, but I think Just the Facts Man was never once actually said in the original TV show.
That's correct. It was some comedian who was poking fun at it, where that came from.
Yeah. Let's get into this. I got not too many of them here. I don't want to drag it on too long. And like I said, I probably have stepped on most of these already. The photograph of Captain Gannon's wife behind his desk is the same photograph as Colonel Potter's wife in MASH from 1972. Both parts, of course, played by Harry Morgan. And in real life, Dan Aykroyd is a huge fan of Jack Webb, the original Joe Friday, and as a tribute to him, Aykroyd gives many of his characters the ability to spit out complex technical jargon the way Joe Friday recites laws and police procedures. Again, like we said previously, his character in Ghostbusters. Let's see here. Dan Aykroyd's Joe Friday also inherits LAPD badge number 714 from his uncle and namesake. When Jack Webb, who played the original Joe Friday, died in 1982, LAPD Chief Daryl Gates retired the badge, which is on display at the Los Angeles Police Museum. Which I thought was really cool. It kind of shows the amount of cooperation that LAPD actually had with the old show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The idea, and this kind of goes what I was saying about a sketch comedy earlier, the idea for doing a comedic version of Dragnet from the original show came about when one of the producers was channel surfing at home and saw SNL on one channel, then Dragnet on the next, and thought it would be funny to combine the two.
Yeah.
And this definitely feels like one of the old kind of Saturday Night Live sketches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does.
To me, it felt kind of like it was a Tom Hanks was their guest, like on Saturday Night Live, where Dan Aykroyd would have just been playing the regular role, and then give all the funny stuff or the ridiculous stuff to Tom Hanks. Let's see. When Pep Strebeck, Tom Hanks, sees Connie Swale's house, he mockingly asks, "Can the beaver come out to play?" In the movie The Burbs from 1989, the same structure was used as the home of Ray Peterson, also played by Tom Hanks. And as we mentioned earlier, that's that backlot kind of cul-de-sac that has been used since Leave It to Beaver. And the scene where Tom Hanks sees through the house and says, "It's Nightmare on Elm Street," that would make him Freddy Krueger, which was a great thing with you come out 160 pounds of ground meat. The house scene was not one used in Nightmare on Elm Street, but was used as 1313 Mockingbird Lane, home of the Munsters. Which, I don't know about y'all, I was a Munsters over Addams Family guy myself.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think I didn't watch the Munsters that much.
Oh, you missed out, friend. You missed out.
Hey, I watched Lost in Space.
Okay.
No,
all right.
okay.
I'll give you that. Detective Strebeck's TV watch was real. Invented by Seiko in 1983, it had a black and white display and separate battery pack / tuner about the size of a Walkman. So in that brief scene where you see him looking at his watch and watching TV, there's this giant plug to the side of it, and that would have run down to the battery pack that he had to carry around.
Crazy.
I in the 90s, I remember seeing those in like resale shops.
Man, I wouldn't mind finding one of those right now, although it'd probably be broken and still cost me $500.
Oh yeah. Wouldn't pick up anything either. Everything's HD signal now, so
that's true.
Yeah.
Now you'd have to wire in a big HD antenna to that thing that you carried around on a backpack, like floating above your head.
Wow.
Well, yeah, no digital tuner.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
and also, which strip club has the best coffee in your area? I'm not telling because I don't want you to be taking up my seat.
Coffee.
Yeah. So yeah, I figured this was going to end up running pretty quick because JT and R2 have this timed out real nice, and they handle everything really well. And I'm just play Fortnite on the watch.
Yeah, right.
I'd watch that. So, Jacob, any final thoughts on this? What'd you think of it overall? Revisiting this whole film.
It was hokey in a good way, I thought.
Yeah, I could see that. It's a good bad, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Blair, what'd you think?
It was fun to revisit it since it had been so long. It was a different time back then. Stuff like this worked. Today, I don't think this,
So, it,
wouldn't work
like,
well.
out of 100, what do y'all think y'all would give it?
Ooh.
Like out of 100%. Yeah, I'm putting you all on the spot. Processing.
55, 60.
Okay. Jake, what do you think?
I'd say that too. At that 60, yeah.
Okay. I was thinking a little bit higher, probably right at 70 max. Just because maybe it's because the bar has been lowered so much with current film. It's just sometimes a ridiculous comedy hits right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think R2 said it when we were talking a couple days ago. It's a terrible Dragnet episode, but it's a pretty funny movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because
good.
Dragnet, like we said, was kind of based on real cases. It was trying to be grounded. It was overacted, but it was trying to be grounded. And this just took that and just did the SNL treatment, like we saw in the trivia.
Yeah.
My favorite thing, one thing in the movie that I loved is they always do this, pointing and they did an original TV show too. They would do this,
And it's always both of them pointing. It's never just one.
Yeah.
And they would point at something, and then the camera would quickly zoom into it.
Yeah. They threw enough of those old TV tropes in there to play tribute to or to pay tribute to the old TV show. And I mean, if you're a diehard fan of that show, I could see how white people might have hated this because it's taking something they liked and turning it to a farce. But I like to think it's more of kind of a love letter to it, because there's enough there that they tried to. I mean, even as ridiculous as Dan Aykroyd's character is in this, you can tell he's trying to be Joe Friday and do it right.
I didn't notice, but were they playing off that Joe's father was the original guy?
His
uncle.
It was a brief mention, but it was his uncle. So technically, this is in the same universe as that original show.
Okay.
And considering how ridiculous LA started getting in the 80s and 90s, it kind of fits.
Yeah.
Just maybe not without the huge cult trying to overthrow society. You had to wait to the 2000s to get that.
Yeah, we had to wait for the 2000s for Pagan to finally show up.
What did they call it? A pagan
people against good and normalcy.
Yeah, right. People against good and normalcy.
Yeah, I have comments related to that, but I usually save those for the Saturday shows.
Yeah, and Joe has to, he reads it out, but then he spells it out, Pagard in, and he's got to spell it out, and he's like, oh, that was good, Joe.
Yeah. It's true. It's like, good detective work, man.
Yeah, right.
So overall, I think this is worth a watch. It might not be a cult classic for some folks, but if people haven't seen it, I'd recommend it at least once. You're gonna get some laughs out of it.
It's an enjoyable watch.
Yeah. It's one of those that, excepting for a couple of scenes, you could just put it on the TV in the living room and go about your business. But if you got kids, you might not want to do that unless it's the TV cut.
Yeah.
I have the quote of the car, of their cars they go through, or the quote that he says, after losing 2 previous vehicles we had been issued, the only car the department was willing to release to us at this point was an unmarked 1987 Yugo of Yugoslavian import, donated to the department as a test vehicle by the government of that country, reflecting the cutting edge of Serbo-Croatian technology.
Those things were the worst cars in the world back then. They're ultra super cheap. It was like, you drive one of those things, it's like a shame on you and your family.
Yeah. If you drove something like an old Pinto, you hoped that your buddy drove a Yugo, so you at least had some sort of bragging rights.
Yeah, right.
It's no worse than you if they had that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the whole country dissolved in the 90s, so you couldn't even call it a Yugo anymore. What the hell do you call it?
I mean, these days you call it a Yugo, and it's probably considered racist or something. So who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's Dragnet there. We stumbled our way through it. Some hiccups at the beginning.
Good job, Beard. Good job.
This is
good job, Beard.
I appreciate that you set your bar about as low as my bar for Hollywood these days. Or good job. So I don't take compliments well, so if I make jokes, just let it happen. It's fine.
For a first go, you did a good job.
Yeah.
I should have done a lot more prep for this, but I would just vapor
easy as it
lock. My
looks,
brain would just lock up.
My first one was talking about all 3 Lord of the Rings movies in one stream.
Ooh,
that is a that's a lot.
That is.
So go back. You could.
I don't know. I feel like I missed out on so many times to use some of these clips here, but you know what? It was just me running stuff, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. So before we go, why don't we tell folks who you are, where they can find you, what you got coming up next? Blair, why don't you start?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter as my handle, Blair to Blair. Tomorrow, I will be with Jacob Ironside and the Uninspired Reviewer. We're going to be talking about the first Rambo movie, First Blood. And then this Thursday, I'm going to be on Roman of the Empire's stream. I don't know what we're talking about this week. I think it might be a free range.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Jacob, how about you? What you got coming up?
Well, you can find use the same name on Twitter and YouTube, so you can find me those 2 places. And yeah, like Blair said, I'll be doing First Blood tomorrow, and also Dempsey will be on too. And then I'll be on Roman's stream Thursday. So that's what my next week's like.
I'm a little bit disappointed that the Rambo stream filled up. I'm going to have to watch it anyway, just so I can, be prepared for the chat when I'm lurking in there. Yeah. But yeah, as for myself, at BeardOfLiberty on X, pretty much anywhere. Taking a little bit lighter this week. I got some stuff I got to catch up on in real life. So my next thing is going to be probably Thursday with Roman for the free range with you guys. And there's a potential movie review stream in the works, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. So I won't put that out there. But as soon as I know, if people follow me on Twitter, X, Twix, whatever the heck you want to call it. I'll put that out there as soon as I have some information. Yeah, I think that's it. This has been fun, guys. I genuinely appreciate you guys coming on here and suffering through everything.
No problem. We got your back.
I had a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Had a good time.
It was a lot of fun. And R2's over here trying to be. You guys, I'm not going to get all sappy on here. Instead, I'm going to awkwardly search through so I can find the outro. But thank you to you guys. Thank you to the chat. Anybody who's watching later on with the replays, make sure you like. If you got a comment, if you want to criticize me, go ahead. I can take it. I'm a big boy most of the time. And I think that's probably it for today. See y'all.
Later.
Bye.
Truck to refrigerators to dumpster, 360 spin onto the palace, backflip gainer into the trash.
This is it. Nick. Big just relax and have fun. Just gonna have fun with it.